My name is Sedarrin Freeman, and this is my testimony. I grew up in a small town called Easton, Texas, and I grew up with initially it was my dad and my stepmom, and we grew up in a country type atmosphere. And when I became around, I want to say 13, my stepmom and my dad separated, got divorced, and so I began kind of living with my grandma more so. And so the structure of my family was I kind of stayed with different family members here and there. I spent more time around my dad than my biological mother, whom came into my life around that time. Like, I knew of her, but I didn't know her like I knew my dad, because I lived with my dad. And so before I met Christ, I was with my aunties and uncles when I would go to church with them. And they went to church religiously. They went to church every week, every Sunday. And I would go to church with them, but I wasn't really connected to the church. You know, I would go on the trips and stuff to have fun, but I wasn't seeking any kind of relationship with the Lord or nothing like that. I felt like it was what I was supposed to do, because it was what my uncle and my aunt were doing, and their kids, and they were the family that I kind of looked to, because they had mother and father, and they had two siblings, two of my cousins, and I spent a lot of time with them. So when I got to high school, I guess sitting in church, I learned a lot about the Lord and who I thought the Lord was at that time, and what his role should be in my life. But I didn't really go into it. I didn't really seek after him. And so I just kind of lived a regular high school kid's life without, following Christ. And it was not until I got in college that people started mentioning Jesus, and I started kind of wondering who Jesus really was and who he should be in my life. But prior to me really getting to know the Lord in college, I kind of ventured off. I wasn't a really far-fetched kid in high school. Like, I wasn't doing a whole bunch of stuff that was against the grain, if I can say it that way, as far as church and Christianity was concerned. I did little stuff. I did stuff that high school kids do, but I didn't do a whole bunch. And when I got to college, I went more wayward. In college, I met up with some friends of mine that they played football with me. I went to college on a football scholarship. So these guys I met, they were from the city, and I spent a whole lot of time with them, and I began to run with them, and I got entangled with drugs. I got entangled with, I guess you could say, gang-related stuff. It was more of a clique type stuff. It wasn't like big time gangs getting jumped in and all that stuff, but we were a really, really strong clique, and it was mostly people from Texas, which is where I'm from, and so I hung out with them and got involved with drugs and alcohol and guns and different type of stuff, and so I was living that lifestyle. And I lived that lifestyle probably for 3.5 years prior to me going to a fellowship of Christian athletes with some of my teammates. Okay, so after I got to college and I took my 3.5 years of just kind of running around and trying to do things that I thought I wanted to do. In the course of that, I met some guys on the team that I didn't really hang with, but they were constantly pursuing me. But not only me, they were pursuing a lot of people on the team, or not. I guess not necessarily pursuing, but they were very vibrant about what they what they were living and how they were living. And so they approached me on several occasions about Jesus, if I had knowledge of him and who he was and who he was supposed to be in my life. And these guys are still my brothers to this day, as well as some of the guys that I was running the streets with. So they would ask me, I passed by him on the sidewalk, hey man, what do you know about, you know about Jesus, what do you know about him? And we talk a little bit, but I just keep on going, on road trips, football games, they would bring it up. And we had a pretty decent relationship where I would play with them and, just kind of joke around with them. But I never really took to what they were offering. And so I had got mixed up in a lot of stuff in college. We were fighting, we were and just involved in a lot of different things. And we had gotten to the last altercation, and it was a bad one. Like, we got into it with some locals in the town, and they were known to be pretty, I guess I could say, serious about, living that lifestyle. And for whatever reason, I decided to go to Fellowship of Christian Athletes with two of my buddies. They invited me, and I went. And when I went, I ran into the Baptist collegiate minister, and he was doing the message that night at one of the local venues, and he asked a question to the entire group, not to me personally. He asked a question that after his message, that if we died on that day, on that particular day, where would we go? And it was at that point that I realized, like, if I died tonight, that I would go to hell, and that I needed a savior. It was clear. I had no question about that. I knew that I needed a savior. I needed. There was only one way to get to God, and it was through Jesus Christ, and I knew that I needed. Well, when I accepted Jesus Christ, there are things that I lost the desire for, like, immediately. Like, and I know people tell the testimonies and their stories just like, oh yeah, God took this way and took this way, but literally there are things that I had no desire to do anymore from that evening to the next day. Like, I had no desire to cuss. I had no desire to drink anymore. I had a struggle with, I think at the time I was smoking Black and Mild, was one of the things that and I struggled. That was the one thing that I struggled with, and probably 5 or 6 months down the road, I had an opportunity to go work at Kids Across America, which was a Christian sports camp that I worked at in 2005. And the guy came and they did interviews on campus, and he asked me the question, was I struggling with anything? And I told him, I was honest. I told him that I was struggling with smoking Black and Miles, and he told me that in order for me to work at the camp, that was something that I was going to have to, let go. And the camp was something that I really wanted to do, and so God kind of used that to help me get rid of that, that vice. And so now I play football, like I said, and I had desires to go to the NFL. And when that didn't work out, I was getting ready to go to play Arena League football. And I got up to the day when I was moved. My car was packed, and I was getting ready to leave to Mississippi somewhere. And I just didn't feel like the Lord was leading me to go play. And so I called the coach. I was like, look, I'm not coming, man. I don't feel like this is what the Lord is leading me to do. And the coach respected that. And so I didn't go play Arena League. I ended up taking an internship at a church in Little Rock, Arkansas for the summer. And so I worked that internship, and I had expressed desires to one of my teammates that I wanted to coach in the future. I had some coaches that impacted my life and kind of pushed me in the way that I was going. And so he called me up at the end of the summer. I had no idea what I was about to do. And he called me up and was like, man, look, I'm going home to coach, man. And I know you expressed a desire to do it. Why don't you give my high school football coach, a call, and maybe, you could get on down there too. And so I did, and I got hired in 2007 to coach. And when I got into it, it was so natural. It was something that I felt like I was supposed to be doing for a long time, even more than going to the NFL and playing. And I was able to impact young people's lives. And what I realized when I got into the profession was that our kids really needed to see some young males, young black males. Our kids needed to see them standing in front of them in a positive sense, and see them doing things that they weren't accustomed to seeing, like just in the streets or selling drugs or just playing sports or just doing that, and so because there were enough negative images that were in front of them, even in the school system, in the teaching profession, there were negative images. And so I understood the importance of having somebody that was positive, somebody that was Christian, standing in front of them, and I think the main thing was them seeing that me being a Christian, that it was I wasn't like stuck up, I wasn't judging and bashing them, but that I could be cool and in a sense, and that I understood where they were coming from, and some of the struggles, or a lot of the struggles that they were going through, they were able to see that in me. And so God has allowed me to impact a lot of people's lives in my profession, the job that I go to, which it doesn't feel like a job a lot of times because I really enjoy doing it. God has just really kind of used me in a lot of situations where I'm able to develop relationships with kids and allow them to see God through me, and allow them to want to know more about God, and I think that's our purpose is to allow God to use us so that people want to know more about Him. And what's awesome is God continues to work even after your relationships cross, and then you move on. God continues to work on those things even in the background. So I think God has really been using me in that sense. And so right now, as a Christian, me being a great image and a great role model, and me being a person that someone can look at and say, okay, this guy's a Christian, and he's not dressed in a suit and tie all the time. He's a regular guy. He's went through a lot of the things that I went through. He's dealt with a lot of things that I dealt with, and here he is walking it out in front of me. And so it's possible, and I think for them to see that, it opens a door for God to do what He does. So if you're watching this video and this is something that's been on your heart, it's something that you've thought about, if you feel like God was tugging on your heart and you wanted to know more about Him, I think the first step that we all need to take, that you need to take, is just to give God a chance. And by giving God a chance, I mean just whether it's your local pastor or a mentor or somebody or a coach or somebody that is just go to them and ask questions. I think it's very important that you ask questions and want to seek to know more about who God is. And I think the more you seek God, the more He'll reveal Himself to you. And don't worry about trying to change everything and make everything right before you go. You go and you come as you are, and God will do all the other stuff, and that's so true. You can go to God the way that you are, regardless of what you're coming from or what you're dealing with, and God will accept you and begin to walk through your relationship with Him, and then things will begin to change,